Hi, welcome to SBR.TV for our preview of the first section of bowl games. I'm Peter Loshak. We're going to start right now with the pre-Christmas bowls, joined as always by Justin Seven, who will give us some insights from his statistical analysis and also give us his lines, of course, from his college football model. Okay, Justin, so I guess I'll just hit the key points on the games, how people seem to be leaning, and what factors are being considered as important by everyone, and then we'll hear what you have to say about any or all of it. All right, so let's start with what might be the best matchup of the pre-Christmas bowls, and that's BYU and Oregon State in the Las Vegas Bowl. Now, everyone here seems to be leaning Oregon State at -2.5, and I think I agree with them, but it does make me nervous that so many people like it. It's a play that I'm not surprised that a lot of people would be liking, since you have a top team from the Pac-10 that almost made the Rose Bowl as less than a field goal favorite against a team from the Mountain West that has played a pretty easy schedule and didn't do particularly well in the few games against top competition that they did play. Although BYU is ranked one spot higher than Oregon State nationally in the AP poll for whatever that means. But I'm wondering if speed might be an issue here and a key factor. BYU didn't do well at all against two teams that had big speed, Florida State or TCU. They kind of have the elite program level speed on offense that BYU will face with Oregon State. And of course, Oregon State does have some of the top offensive threats at the skill position, certainly in the Pac-10 and in the country as well. From a motivational perspective, BYU might have some kind of edge, since they have their disappointing loss to Arizona in last year's Las Vegas Bowl on their minds, and I'm sure they're looking to atone for that. They've been reported as wanting to make up for it. And Oregon State again was hoping to get into the Rose Bowl this year and lost out when they lost that close game to Oregon in their last game of the regular season. Their quarterback Sean Canfield was quoted as saying that was a game that was tough to swallow. So BYU might have an edge there if you buy into that. But again, I will say that every opinion I've seen about this game has been for Oregon State. That could be a bad sign. I haven't seen one person come out in favor of BYU. And I spoke to Bookmaker, and they told me that Oregon State is a big public side. They've got a lot of one-sided action on this game, all of it on Oregon State, and it's all been public money. So what do you think about this pick? Do you agree with everyone?
No, I'm on the opposite side. I like BYU.
Really? Why?
Well, this one's a little tough to evaluate. And again, as you mentioned, there's a big difference in strength of schedule. There's a huge disparity. Oregon State's in the Pac-10. That already starts them off with a killer schedule. And if you look at the Sagarin ratings for how difficult their schedules were, I think Oregon State was 15th in the country compared to 70-something with BYU. And a lot of people have trouble interpreting stats when you have a vastly different schedule. And I think in this case, people have overemphasized the adjustment. I mean, Oregon State, I made it Oregon State +4.5. So I'm actually pretty far off on a major game. And I'm not usually this far off when we get this late into the season. So I think BYU is the right side on this one. So
your line is BYU -4.5. That's a big disparity.
Yes, it is.
Huh. All right. Well, we'll see how it goes. Let's see what you have to say about a similar game that I want to ask you about, Central Florida and Rutgers. This is sort of a poor man's BYU Oregon State. It's another game where there's two teams coming from conferences with significantly different reputations. Again, with the team from the better conference, about a 2.5-point favorite. And it's also a game that's gotten very one-sided action on the favorite at Bookmaker. But on this one, it's been the sharper money that's been backing the favorite Rutgers. One thing that's interesting about this game is the turnover numbers. Rutgers is actually #1 in the country in turnover differential, and Central Florida is also good on that. They were top 20, but Rutgers is #1. We talked about turnovers earlier in the year in our videos, and you mentioned that in college, turnover numbers are actually more predictive than they are in the pros, but that they're still mostly a result of luck. I'll ask you about that in a second. There's a great thread on this game in the college football forum started by the poster The Nard Dog, and that's called Thoughts on Rutgers at -3. Thoughts on Rutgers at -3, where the Nard Dog says that he likes Rutgers and that they're one of his top bowl picks of the year. There's a lot of good posts in this thread. Including one from LT Profits where he comes in and says that he likes Central Florida. But a couple that caught my eye were posted by a current UCF student who likes Rutgers here. And this is what he said. The poster Blunts All Day, that's his posting name, Blunts All Day. He posted, I am a UCF student, and I will personally be fading hard. The line amazes me. Probably based on the fluke win over Houston, take Rutgers. And then later on, he posted, trust me when I tell you we straight up suck. We will let you down. So that's the opinion from Blunts all day, and that does carry weight with me, although it definitely obviously concerns me that this poster's posting name is Blunts all day. That makes me very nervous, of course. But both teams were strong against the run this year. Central Florida was better ATS. They were 9-2. Rutgers was 6-6. So what's your take on this one? What's your number?
I made the line Central Florida +1. So I like Central Florida +3, and I actually took and something you can do if you like a side. In this case, Bet Phoenix had +3 -112, and the market was considerably higher than that. So I took what's called a half scalp. Instead of betting both sides, or I took Central Florida +3 -112, and instead of selling off the other side, I just kept it. So keep a little risk that way.
And then in our video last week, we talked about the idea that double-digit dogs in pre-New Year's bowls have tended to be good bets historically, but that's not necessarily predictive going forward. So now we've got two double-digit dogs coming up right here, Wyoming at +10.5 and SMU +15. Do you think there's value in either of these?
Yeah, I think I definitely lean on Wyoming +10.5. I made the line closer to 7. So it's, I mean, it may be worth a small bet on that. And the other one, it was SMU +15. Let me check that one again. That one I'm not as excited about. I made Nevada a 13-point favorite, so I would pass on it. But if you had to have action on it, I'd play SMU 15 and parlay it with under 73. 73 is a high number. I actually like the under on this bet more. But if you're going to play either or both of them, you can pick up a little bit of edge from a very weak correlation. Line to total ratio is almost 5 on that, so it's not a strong correlated parlay. But you don't need to have one that's strong enough to bet blindly, because I like both sides, SMU and the under. I like SMU just a little bit. I like the under a lot more.
Okay, well, Bookmaker told me that they've gotten a good amount of sharp action on Nevada actually so far, and that the action on Wyoming, Fresno State has been mostly sharp action, but it's been split down the middle. Okay, and then another thing that you mentioned in our vid last time about bowl games was that scoring tends to go up a bit in bowls, and that you raise your expected totals for these games. So, are there any posted totals that are looking a bit on the low side to you? I was thinking maybe the Wyoming Fresno State total. Actually, those are two teams with fairly productive offenses, and the total is 55, which is pretty high, but not in the stratosphere.
I thought the best over to bet was the Wyoming game. So if you like, now those the Wyoming and the over are not really correlated, so you don't play both of those. But I like them independently as bets.
All right, great. And then finally, let's talk about a game that not a lot of people have wanted to touch, Utah, California. Cal has seemed like one of the most unpredictable teams in football this year, and I think that's what's throwing people for a loop with this line and pushing them away from the game completely. Cal has looked awful at times, getting blown out, but they also look very good at others. They beat Stanford on the road. Utah, of course, has been a very good bowl team over the years. They've won 8 bowls in a row now, including last year where they beat Alabama. But during the regular season this year, they had a very easy schedule. They never had a win over a top team, and they lost the 3 quality opponents that they went up against, although they did play Oregon close, which does say something. So I'm curious to see what you make of this game. The spread is Cal -3.5, and what do you make of Cal's up and down year?
California may appear to be unpredictable, but so, I mean, if you look at enough teams, there are going to be some that play consistently and look unpredictable. It's just, you put the numbers in, get your numbers out, and make your best guess on that. And in this case, my best guess is that Utah is going to win this game straight up. I make them a very small, a 1-point favorite, so I would definitely lean on Utah on this one. Interesting.
Wow. All right. So you seem to be rating the Mountain West higher than the betting public seems to be.
Part of it may be public perception too. I mean, I'm fading Cal. I'm fading. Who else am I fading? I'm fading popular teams. I'm fading Oregon State. I'm fading the Pac-10, which I think was overrated this year, and I think publicly they're still perceived as a super strong conference. So it doesn't bother me to play the lower conferences against Pac-10 in these matchups.
All right, great. Well, thanks for the input, Justin, and I think that's it for our pre-Christmas bowl game preview. For SBR.TV, I'm Peter Loshak.